everyone, and welcome to the Southampton Business School Placements Podcast. My name's Libby, and I work in the Southampton Business School Placements team. Each episode of our podcast, we're going to be exploring a range of different topics, from student experience to looking at what employers look for in a placement student and how you can be a competitive applicant in the placement process. Remember, if there's any particular topics that you want us to discuss, then please do just drop us an email at placements.sbs@sutton.ac.uk. So today we're lucky enough to be joined by Olly Sergeant. Olly is a graduate of Southampton Business School who completed a placement as part of his degree. So thanks so much for taking the time to join us today, Olly. So should we start by telling us a bit about who you are and what you did on your placement year?
Yeah, so as Libby just said, I'm Olly, and I was on the marketing course, and my placement year was at a company called Oracle. You may or may not have heard of them, but yeah, they're kind of one of the largest kind of software companies in the world. They do primarily B2B work, and they're kind of comprised of so many different types of businesses, small businesses and larger businesses. But I worked as part of a hospitality business unit. So it was one of 7 or 8 separate business units that dealt with kind of different things. And so it was kind of the hospitality and bars and pubs and restaurants that was kind of the area that I was working in. And so kind of the marketing role as well. I think my actual title was marketing specialist, which is quite fancy. But that just basically meant kind of giving support for sales reps, and all. That's kind of ultimately what it was. And yeah, it kind of involved a whole host of different things, really, event planning and kind of event portal filling out, and kind of inbound lead boxes to email boxes, and organising corporate events and booking loads of different places and talking to so many different people. Yeah, I did a lot in my role, yeah.
Thanks, Olly. That's great. And it's really helpful to have a bit of understanding about what Oracle is a company as well, because I think not everyone's necessarily aware of Oracle and what they do. So how long did it take you to secure your placement, and how did you find that process? Because it is quite a competitive process trying to secure a placement, isn't it?
Yeah, it is difficult, but kind of what I learned was that you get in, you get out what you put in. I think I started looking early. I think that was always my thing. I looked early, and I think I got my placement fairly early on compared to kind of a few other people. But yeah, the kind of process of getting the placement is complicated in a way. I had a massive spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet of about, it must have been about 100 places I've emailed and sent applications for, and then maybe I'll hear back from 40 of them to say kind of the next stage, and then from the next stage is 20, and the next stage after that is 10. So yeah, I mean, looking for placements and that kind of thing, it can be difficult, but I think the big thing for me was that the placements office was like and all of the tools and the online stuff that you get given is like what kind of helps me the most. Kind of learning what you do want to do and what you don't want to do, what kind of industry you want to go into, what you don't want to go into. Yeah, it's all important, but the whole kind of process is long. That's the thing I would say. It's long. It's full of ups and downs, and you'll get rejected more times than you'll get accepted. But you just need one yes and 99 no's, and you've still got a placement.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, the process was long, but it was a learning process, and it was, yeah, I mean, it was worth it in the end. It was, it's one of the biggest learning curves, especially uni for me.
Oh, great. That's good to know. And I guess it's learning that then you're going to be able to use when you're looking for graduate roles and stuff as well, isn't it?
100%, yeah.
So leading on from what you've said, could you tell us a bit more about how the placements team helped you when you were searching for your placement and whilst you were out on placement as well?
Yeah, well, I always kind of wanted to keep a close relationship with the placements office, because there's a lot of unis that do placement schemes and they do offer opportunities on placements in year abroad or whatever. But I think Southampton Business School was one of the biggest reasons I chose Southampton in the first place, anyway, because of the placement. But yeah, I mean, the placements office were always open, no matter who you're talking to. The office is always pretty much open. You can go in there and and have a chat, or if it's about interview speed runs, or cover letter read throughs, or maybe get an opinion on a company, or even advice for when you're kind of in between a rock and a hard place, right? So if you've accepted an offer somewhere and maybe you think you don't want to go there, all these kind of things, any queries or any concerns that you have, so you can always talk to your parents, but it's always kind of better to talk to kind of the experts and the people that know, do it on a daily basis. So for me, I've had other mates at other unis that have had placements and they've not had the support, even half the support that kind of I got given and we got given from the placements office. So it's just kind of anything really, knowing that they're always there and that kind of they're always going to be open to speak to you and to help you is just kind of, you can't beat it really.
Oh, great. It's great to hear that it was such a help to
Yeah.
you. So a bit about your expectations. How did your expectations of your placement year kind of live up to the actual reality of being on placement?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I didn't have any expectations, to be honest, because it's so unknown of what I was going into that I don't know if I built up expectations. Maybe you have expectations of what a job will be, but I think a job is different for a placement anyway. I think some placements treat it more like a job, and some placements you're treated more of a placement student. But for me, I know my experience was that the reality of working is a lot harder than kind of, I guess, what you think work would be. I think at uni, especially first year and second year, you're working for yourself for the most part, and you have group work and stuff. But when you get to the reality of a placement and are working a 9 to 5, you have other people kind of relying on you, and the responsibility, goes up tenfold. And so it's not just someone's not relying on you to kind of make a presentation. It's people's careers and their livelihoods that are relying on you to do a certain job. So that adds extra pressure. But yeah, I think the best way that I would think is just don't go in with any expectations. I think, the reality always is never as good as your best expectations. So limit the expectations and then kind of enjoy it for what it is. Yeah, no, it's strange. But yeah, I mean, I couldn't have imagined what I would do anyway. That's probably one of the best things. I mean, if I did have expectations, then maybe I might not have enjoyed it as much. But I definitely did more things than what I thought I was going to do anyway.
Okay, that's some great advice. So do you think what was unexpected about your placement year, and anything that happened that you weren't expecting?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of unexpected things. Like I said, I didn't have many expectations, so whatever was thrown at me was kind of unexpected in a way. Like I said, that some people don't get given a lot of responsibility on placements. That's just kind of sometimes how that just happens. But for me, I got given responsibilities from day one. It was so strange coming into such a big, company. You kind of get a new laptop, and then you get all these new stash, all this kind of Oracle branded gear, and then someone comes to your desk and gives you 2 new screens, a new keyboard, and all these things, and then you have 4 calls with these group directors, and these people are quadruple your salary, and yeah, it's yeah, there was so many unexpected things, and manager changes, and working hours, work-life balance, meeting other people, meeting co-workers and bosses, and learning how to deal with that. Unexpected wise was, I guess, some people didn't know that I was an intern or didn't know that I was on placement, so they treated me like an actual employee, which has its positives and negatives. It's negatives because they didn't know my capabilities, and I've just been here a week. But also it's good because they gave me a lot more on my plate than maybe I could handle at the start, but then a kind of baptism by fire, and I got thrown in the deep end and got what was better for it. So yeah, unexpected things like that, they're always bound to happen, and they did. You can't plan for everything, right? So
Yeah.
Rolling with the punches, and just embracing it, all the unexpected things is just the best way I could deal with it. Again, there's nothing major that surprised me. It was negative that surprised me, maybe kind of more positive surprises and unexpected things than anything else.
Oh, that's good to hear. It was more positive. So what do you think What do you think the highlights were of your placement year?
There was many highlights. I was fortunate to do so many different things, and go to so many different places. I think probably my highlight was when I got sent to Lisbon in Portugal, with all my global team. That was pretty incredible. I managed an Arsenal corporate box for the year, as much as it was an absolute nightmare, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone. But I got to go to a couple of those games. So, but I think there's all those experiences, but one of the biggest experiences is just like meeting the people you're working with and developing those kind of relationships and the connections. I think it was, how long ago now? My placement was 2 years ago, going on 3 now or something like that.
Yeah.
And my LinkedIn feed is still connected, and I still talk to my old manager, and I still keep up with other people and how they're doing. I get messages on LinkedIn from them asking me how I am and what I'm doing. So, yeah, I think that's probably the biggest highlight for me, was kind of meeting people and different people.
Yeah.
Not just other interns, but managers and directors and C-level executives and EAs and canteen staff, all those types of people. It's quite cliche, but it really is kind of people by people first. And so when you kind of fit in personally, and then it's you get to enjoy it a lot more, especially with the people around you.
Yeah. And I think you've highlighted one of the things as well that we say that we always, tell our students it's important to have like a LinkedIn profile, and having that is a really good way to help you keep those connections as well, isn't it?
Yeah. I think I started off at like 60 connections and I ended up with like 300 or something by the end of the year.
So what do you think your top tips would be for students who are looking to secure a placement or who are going out on placement?
Looking to secure, probably kind of be open-minded. I know there were so many companies that are the flashy ones, like your Nikes and your Apples and your Microsofts, your Googles or whatever. But there's so many companies out there that offer great placement schemes that you might not have heard of, or they may not be as big as some of the other ones. I never heard of Oracle beforehand. And kind of, I'm glad I didn't kind of just shun it to the side because I didn't recognise the name.
Yeah.
I know people that went to like Warner Bros and didn't have the best experience, even though it's Warner Bros and stuff. So that would be my advice. We're looking for things is kind of just keep your mind open and go to these, apply for everything really, and go to the assessment centres and interviews and see how you like it. And then the advice for people going on placement is, I guess, just be a sponge. Just kind of go in there, kind of go into every day stupid, and see what you can learn and get involved and network and make the effort to reach out to people, go and grab a coffee with them. It's one connection that you can meet on placement that could start your career in the next 2 years. That's the kind of that's like almost how everything works. So I would just kind of just be a sponge and kind of go in there really keen, really eager, a good work ethic. Don't be afraid to put in the time. And kind of people will respect you for kind of the amount of work you put in and how hard you work. So that's probably my advice.
Thank you. That's some really great advice. So a lot of our students after graduating go on to look for a graduate role, but you chose a bit of a different route, didn't you? You chose to go and carry on studying. So can you tell us a bit about what you've done after graduating and why you chose to take that route?
Yeah. So I've just kind of fairly recently, a month ago, finished my MA in creative advertising down in Falmouth in Cornwall. I made the decision to do that actually before the coronavirus pandemic. So it wasn't kind of, a panic masses or whatever it is. It was a thought out thing that I wanted to do. And I kind of decided to move away from marketing because from my role, I was allowed to do a lot of creative stuff. Fortunately, I kind of made the role my own, and so I was doing videos and did some photography and did some graphic design and stuff. So I wanted to kind of explore the more creative elements of marketing initially, and then I kind of stumbled into this world of advertising. And so yeah, it's the lot of I wouldn't have known about the advertising had I not been in marketing, right? Because there's so many
Yeah.
crossovers. So yeah, I just decided to do a master's because it was, for me, it was the most logical step for the career I want to go into, right? So it's something that I really enjoy now, and I don't regret it at all. And whatever kind of the MA is, I think MAs are always quite useful. You learn different skills on MAs, and there's so many different types of specific MAs, and more people are getting MAs anyway. So even to be competitive, sometimes you need MAs. So yeah, I mean, I decided to do that just because I always want to get more creative and see what the advertising world was all about.
And I think what you said there kind of highlights what we all say to some of our placement students as well. Just because you do something on placement, that doesn't mean that's what you have to do for your career. And even if it kind of teaches you that that's not exactly what you want to do, it can help you find what you do want to do. So it's still a really valuable experience, isn't it?
100%. It's like, I mean, if there's anything, if you don't, I say it's quite maybe rare that if you went into placement and wanted to do that exact job when you graduate, especially given a year out after the placement, because it's like, I think my placement taught me more what I didn't want to do than what I did want to do.
Yeah.
And so if I hadn't had that experience, although I did love the whole year, if I hadn't had that experience, then I wouldn't have known that I would have gone. I couldn't have ever foreseen me going on for an MA before my placement. So before my placement. So yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. And that just leads us on to our final question. Obviously, you said you wouldn't have done your MA without doing your placement. So how do you think your placement year helped you while you were doing your MA?
I think the biggest thing is work ethic, probably. I think a lot of the placements office say, and a lot of the third year lecturers say, that they can see a big difference between how students perform from people that did placements and people that didn't. Academically, that is, but also I remember second year is kind of, you think kind of uni's hard or whatever, and then you go into placement and then you're up at 9 every single day and you leave at maybe 6 or whatever, and then you come to third year and you've got like something starting at 10 and then something else at 2. You think, like, what am I going to do with the rest of my time?
Yeah.
It
Suddenly
just
realize how much time there is in a day, don't you?
100%. And the placement for me was the biggest, like, not only confidence booster, but like I said, work ethic. So now when I went back to third year, I was like in the library all the time. I was doing work on time and all this stuff. And then carrying over from the MA is just the professionalism of it. Knowing how to email people, how to approach things, and how to talk to people. And it really translates well over to MA. I mean, no matter what you do, what course you go into, the skills you learn are so transferable that anything you learn in your placement is going to be valuable, not just for maybe MA, but for the rest of your life, right? So, it's just that work ethic and that kind of go get 'em attitude, professionalism and all those kind of things you learn. It's kind of keeps you in good stead, especially for my MA anyway.
Yeah. And now, having completed your MA, you've gone on to secure yourself a really exciting new role, haven't you? So good luck in starting your new role.
Thank you. Yeah, hope it goes well.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us today, Olly. And thank you everyone for listening. And as I said previously, if there's any particular topics that you'd like us to discuss in the podcast, then please do get in touch with us via email at placements.sbs@sutton.ac.uk.